So I guess Nalini started with strings last time, right? So a string in Python is anything which is enclosed in a single quotes, in a double quotes, or in a triple quotes. So you know this triple quotes? No? Triple quotes? No? Okay. So next thing, strings are immutable. So third, strings are ordered. Okay. So let's go this 3 points. So when I say immutable, which means guys, excuse me. Okay. So I can define any string, just define a variable name equal to, either I can use single quotes, right, sample string, right. How to get type of this? Which function will use to get a type? Okay. So we have this function to get what is the data type of this particular variable, right? Now the reason Python supports a single quote and a double quote is to improve the readability. Okay, so let's say you have something like this, a string like this. Okay, now I want to print it in a double quotes. Okay, so this Python is something which I want to print it in a double quotes. Let's try adding, all right, let's try single quotes only first. Okay, I'm writing something like this. Now how Python will treat it as, okay, this is the start of the string, this is the end of the string. So in short, this is an empty string. Now from color code, you also see that it's showing in a white, which means Python is considering this particular Python as a variable. Okay, it's not part of the string. Okay, and this is another string. So that's why if I now execute this, it will throw me an error. Okay, so that is the reason you can start your string with a single quote, and if you want quote inside, you can use this double quotes inside so that it can print something in a quotes. Okay, the alternative for this is your escape character. Okay, so now I am putting this, all right. Okay, now this will also give me the single quotes. Okay, but the reason this is not encouraged because it will hamper your readability of your code. Okay, so better approach is, if you're using single quotes outside, use double quotes inside. Okay, but the only restriction I have here is if I'm starting from single quotes, my string should end with a single quotes. If I'm starting with double quotes, I have to end it with a double quotes. Okay, now we say strings are immutable. Reason again, so if I'm defining a particular string, even though if I assign a same variable and let's say different string value, it looks like for the same variable I am modifying the value. Okay, which means it looks like this is a mutable. But if we check the memory location wise, print let's say id of s, okay, and here also print id of s. Okay. Now if I execute this, you will find the memory location of this two thing will be different. Okay, because how it works, it will assign this string as a value, it will reference to this particular memory location. The moment you change the value, it will change the memory location for this. Okay, so that is the reason at the same memory location I cannot modify the string, and that's why we say strings are immutable. Okay. So whenever I say any data type which is immutable, which means Python will not provide me any methods to add, update, and delete. Okay. Now next thing is order. So what is order? So whenever I store a string, so Python will also maintain the same order. So going forward, we will see the data structures which are unordered in Python. But for a strings, whatever order you are specifying, it will maintain the same. And that is the reason for any data structure which is ordered, it will support indexing and slicing. Okay, all right. Is strings covered for you already? Strings topic already covered?
Yeah, strings and a bit.
Okay. Okay. Now why we have this triple quotes? Okay. So these triple quotes are generally reserved for your multi-line strings. Okay. So whenever I'm defining a string, let's say Python sample string. Okay. Now if I hit enter and let's say another line in a same string, right? Now you can see there is a difference in color code. And now if I try to print it, it will throw me an error. Okay. So you can avoid this by two ways. One is specifying this escape character. Okay. Now everything will be, so it will allow me to store multi-line strings. Or the second way, the recommended way is use triple quotes. Okay. So we'll start with triple double quotes or triple single quotes. Both are fine. But you have to make sure you're ending your string with triple quotes. So now if I execute this, this will be my multi-line string. Okay. So clear all these 3 points. I can define a string in a single quote, in a double quotes, or for a multi-line strings, I can define it in a triple quotes also. Strings are immutable and strings are ordered. So if I say any data type which is immutable, which means there will be no methods to add, update, and delete the particular value. When I say ordered, which means it should support indexing and the slicing. Okay. So I guess indexing, slicing already covered. Let's just revise this. So I have this something called Python sample string. Okay. Yeah. So what is indexing, guys?
Starting to zero.
So if I want to fetch a particular character from this string, I can fetch it using indexing. Now for a string, your index will start from 0. So we have two indexes, one which will go from left to right and one which will go from right to left. So one which goes from left to right will start from 0, so it will be 0, 1, 2 and so on. And one which starts from right hand side, it will start from -1, -2, -3 and so on. Okay. So in short, for every character, I will have two indexes, one positive and one negative, and you can use either of them. Okay. So if I just say s of 0, I'll get p, 1 and so on. So if I say -1, okay. If I say s of 100,
Makes not possible.
exactly. So if I specify a index which does not exist, your indexing will throw an error that index out of range. Okay. All right. Now, if you want a substring from this main string, you will use your slicing. So if you see the comparison with C and Java, if you want a substring out of this, you have to write loops for this. But in Python, there is no need of loops to get just a substring out of it, right? Okay, so which are the different variations? So let's say I only want this Python. What should I write?
0.
So index of the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Should I write 5? 5?
6.
Right? So your end is non-inclusive always. Okay? So it's the same as your range function. Your end is not inclusive. Okay? So this is the first variation in which I'm specifying the start and I'm specifying the end. Next variation. Let's say I want the sample string. What should I write? I want this entire thing. So 6 is n,
7.
7 is space. Oh, sorry, 6 is space. Yeah, 7. Okay.
8 colon.
I guess 7 should do.
19.
All right. Should I write 19?
No, it's just
Exactly. Okay, so if you want to reach end of the string, so we'll just specify the start and you will not specify the end. So if you do not specify the end, it will defaultly go till end of the string, right? This is the second variation. Third variation, the same thing which we have done for that is 0 to 6, I can write it as only 6. So here I'm not specifying the start. So in that case, it will defaultly start from 0. And again, your end is not inclusive. Okay. So first variation, I'm specifying start and next I'm only specifying the start, not the end. Now I'm specifying, I'm not specifying the start, only the end I'm specifying. Clear so far? I want reverse. What should I write?
Negative.
Okay. Alright. Colon minus 1. Okay. So what is this? So this is something called as stride. Okay. So we have 3 parameters. First is start, second is end, and third is stride. When you do not specify anything, defaultly this is 1. Okay. So that's why even if you don't specify this, it is fine. Okay. Now this stride is generally used if you want to print alternate character. Okay. Now let's say now I'm saying colon 2. Okay. So whenever it's 1, it will print every character. If I say colon 2, now it will give me alternate. So it will start from P, that is start of the string, skip Y because I'm saying every alternate character. So skip Y, every second character T. Skip H, print me, skip N, print me space. Okay. So I'm getting every alternate character. Okay. How about I want alternate character from right hand side?
Negative.
So your stride is not only for your alternate characters. So your stride will actually decide the direction. Okay. When your stride is positive, it can traverse string only from left to right. When your stride is negative, it will always traverse your string from right to left. Okay. Right. So now if I say -2, it will traverse in this direction. Okay. Now let's try one thing. So I'm saying I want from P to this N. Okay. So for that I'm saying 0, 6. Okay. And I'm putting this as -1. Okay. So in short, I said my stride will decide the direction, right? Now if I calculate the index wise, it should go from left to right because 0 is this, 6 is this, right? But I'm specifying stride as negative. which means I'm specifying wrong slicing. Okay, if I execute this, it will give me blank. Okay, so indexing, it will throw you an error that index out of range, but your slicing will always give you a blank string if you are specifying the wrong index. Okay, it will never throw you an error. Okay, so this is your slicing. So we have seen start, end, only start, not the end, only end, and for a stride we have seen how to reverse and what is the use of stride, right? Have you tried this palindrome program? I want to check if a string is palindrome or not, right? So in C or in Java, if you want to do this, you have to traverse on the basis of indexes, right? So I have a string called madam. I want to check if this string is palindrome or not. Now what is palindrome string? If I traverse this string from left to right, and if I traverse it from right to left, if I get the same string, I can say this is a palindrome. What should I write?
If
Uh-huh.
it's of
So,
bracket in bracket,
brackets,
semicolon,
semicolon.
starting to ending.
Okay, so you want entire, right? But I can write it this way only. This will also do.
Um,
Okay, yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
it is equal
Equal to.
s of
Uh-huh.
double colon
Uh-huh.
space -1
All right.
print value.
Okay. Right. So this is just a two-line program in Python. If you do the same thing in Java, you have to write a for loop which will compare the first index and the second last index value. If it's equal, come inside like this. Okay. So here what I'm just checking, I'm checking this original string is equal to reverse of the string. So to get the reverse, I can make use of my slicing. Okay. Any queries? No? Pratap? No? Getting error?
No.
Huh?
Working.
Working, right? Okay, perfect. Right. So before going into the functions related to strings, so if I have a string, if I iterate using a for loop, what will be the output? Okay. So I'm writing for value in s. Okay. If I just print the value. Okay. So in each iteration, I will get one character, including space. Okay. So in strings, everything is on the basis of your characters. So be it your index, be it your slicing, or be it your iteration using for loop also. If I have two strings, okay, I want to concatenate it.
This is
All I will just write s1 plus s2. Okay. If I write something like this, print s1 star 5,
5 times.
can I guess? All right. Okay. So this will print me Python 5 times. If I write s1 star s2, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So we don't have anything like this, we'll get an error. Okay. All right. So if we just do help,
Space between Python and Python.
if you want a space, you have to add it manually.
One.
Uh-huh.
Semicolon 1.
Exactly. So you can use your print separator will also not work here. So the best way is you will concatenate it with space. I guess this should be one string. Let's try this. S O. What happened? Let's say now this is my one string. Yeah. Okay. So let's start with format method. Any idea? This is not covered, right? Okay. So let's say I have a num1 is equals to 100. I have s, which is, let's say, Python string. Okay. Now if I want to print both values, let's say I'm saying print, so value of num1 is, okay, I need to put a comma, I need to put num1, then I'm adding one more string, let's say value of s is, and then let's put a comma and put s, right? Okay. Okay, so this is one way, but this is not a recommended way of doing this. Okay, so we have a method called format. Okay, so this is a string method. So what I will do, I will just provide the placeholders. Okay, so I'm saying value of num1 is, and here I want to print the value of num1. Okay, so I'm putting one placeholder here. Okay, then I'm saying value of s is, and here I want the value of s. Okay, so here I'm putting another placeholder. Okay, now in short, this is one string. Okay, so for a string we have a method called dot format. Okay, and here I will specify what exactly I want to print. I'm saying num1 comma s. Okay, so now it will defaultly take this num1 at this place and this s at this particular place. Okay, so this is the recommended way to print your data. Okay, now it has the index, this is 0 and this is 1. Okay, so if I want to interchange the value also, let's say at this point, I know we are defining it different, it's just to show the indexing concept. Here I can say this print me 1 here and print me 0 here. Okay, so now at the place of this, it will check which is the variable present at first location. So this is 0, this is 1, and it will print this Python string here and this 100 here.
Suppose for one, if we give the number and if we give
Yeah. Okay, this will not work. Okay, so if you are going into indexing, you have to provide index for. Okay. Now let's say you are printing 10 values. Okay, so now it's not advisable that you will start counting the variable names. Okay, so this variable is present at 0th index, I'll write 0th here and like this. Okay, so here we can say you can define a keyword. Okay, so let's say num and st. Okay, so I'm defining the keywords now. So now instead of indexing, I will say num1 is equals to this and st is equals to this. So now Python will know that wherever there is a num1, it will search in this thing. Okay, where is num1? Okay, so for num1, this num1 is defined. So it will print the value of num here. Okay, so this is called keywords. Okay, so the mandatory thing, if you are specifying num here, it should be num here also. Okay, so this keyword should match.
which method is recommended this one.
Yeah, this one. Can you go ahead? Okay, so let's start with casing functions. Okay, so I have something called upper is upper, lower is lower, title is title, capitalize is capital. Okay, right. So let's say I'm defining a string as again I'm taking the same example, Python sample string. Alright. If I say S1 is equals to S dot upper. Okay. So it will convert your string to uppercase. Okay. Keep in mind, so this is default function. So you have to specify the string for which you want to convert. So I'm saying S dot. Okay. So while we are writing this S dot, we will come back to this concept when we discuss objects. Okay. For now, so I want to modify this particular string. Okay. So this upper method will return something. So this upper function will return me a string in a uppercase. Okay. So that's why in that case, even if I write just this S dot upper, okay, it will print me the answer. Okay. So your print function will always print me the value which is returned by this particular function. Okay. So going forward, we will see the examples where this function is not returning anything. Okay. Right. Again, it looks like I'm modifying the same string, that is I'm saying S dot upper and it's converting to the uppercase. If you go and check the ID, your ID will be different for this S and S1, even if you assign it to S also. Why? Because my strings are immutable. Okay. Okay. So now if you have a particular string, you want to check if this is in uppercase or not. We have a function called isUpper. Okay. So this function will return me true or false. Okay. All right. Similar to this, we have lower and is lower also. So if I say S dot is lower, so first try lower. This will give, it will convert my capital S everything into small case. Okay, and I'll get a lower. Okay, right. If I print S dot is lower, what will be the answer? True or false?
False.
Why? I'm converting it to the lower case.
If you check it S dot lower dot is lower, then
Exactly.
it will be
Okay. So here I'm saying S dot lower. Okay. Now I'm not assigning it to any variable. I am not modifying the value for the same variable. Okay. So I'm just saying S dot lower, and this is inside a print function. So that way it will just print me the lowercase version of the same string. And that is the reason if I check is lower, now this time it will check it with this particular string, not with this answer. Okay, so for that what I need to do, if I want to check the same string, I can write it S dot lower dot is lower. Now this will print me true, or I need to assign it to something. So let's say S again. Now this will give me true. Okay. Similar to this, we have title. So if I want to convert it to the title case, that means first letter of each word will be converted to the capital case. Okay. So by default, we have this P into capital, S into capital, but this S is in small. It will automatically default convert it to the capital case. So this is your title case. If you want to check if it's in a title case or not, same as is lower and is upper, we have S dot is title. Okay, this time also it will return me false. If you want to convert it to the capitalize, we have a function called print S dot capitalize. Alright. Okay, so it will capitalize the first letter, and everything else will be in a lowercase. Okay. If I want to check if it's in capitalized state or not, I do not have is capitalized function. Okay. So this function does not exist. Okay. So can you guys please write a logic for this? So if I have a string, let's say s is equals to p y t h o n s a m p l a s t r i n g. Okay, is it a capitalized string? So when I say capitalized, my first letter should be capital. Everything else should be in a lowercase, right? So I want to write a program which will check if a string is capitalized or not. If it's capitalized, return print true, else print false. Okay, I want to check first character is in uppercase or not, and everything else is in lowercase or not. Yeah, what should I write?
If we started
If I start
capital
capitalize
equal
equals
to
okay. So it will convert it to the capitalized version, and this will always be true. So if you compare it with true, but this function will return a value which will be capitalized version of a string. It cannot be true and false.
sorry, is equal to s dot capital S.
Mhm. So can I say s is equals to s this
Yeah.
like this? Okay.
Print
Print true else. Okay. So what I'm comparing that I'll just use this capitalized function. If the original string and the capitalized version of that string both are equal, then I can say, okay, so this is a capitalized string. Okay, so this is one logic. Or let's say I want to go with this logic for compare the first letter if this is in a uppercase and everything else in a lowercase. For that, what should I write? If
if s of I s of 0
mhm,
dot capitalize sorry is upper
mhm,
And
mhm,
this was one to
s of 1 to column
you want to enter the string.
is
Lower.
lower.
Mhm.
Print true.
levels.
Okay, so this is giving me false as expected. Let's try this. Okay, so these are the two different ways. This is the cleaner. So next set of function, split and jump. So let's say I have a list. Let's say I have a string which contains HTML, CSS, Python, Java, something like this. Okay. Now this is one string, right? I want to convert it to a list. Okay, and all these elements should be separated. Okay, so at the moment everything is a character basis. I want this HTML as a separate element, CSS as a separate element, Python as a separate, Java and Django as a separate, right? So in that case I can use split function. So what split will do, if you pass a string, it will always return a list tree. Okay, so syntax, I'm saying hi. So I have this string and I want to split it into a list so that I can get this individual elements. Okay, so syntax, I want to split this particular string, split. I need to specify how I want to split the string and on the basis of what. So here I'm specifying on the basis of count. Alright, let's print this cell now. Okay, so now everything will be a separate element. Okay, so list also supports indexing and slicing. So exactly same way. So you can say -1. This will give me the last element. Okay. If I try to split on the basis of something which does not exist, now specifying split on the basis of space. Okay. So keep in mind your split function will always give you a list as output. Even if you're specifying something which does not exist, everything will be a single element into a list. Okay. So at this moment, now if I do L of 0, I will get this entire string. Okay. Opposite of this, we have something called join. So what join will do, if you have a list, you want to join it back. So the syntax is also exactly opposite. So here at the end we are specifying on the basis of what we want to split. For a join, we have to specify on the basis of what you have to. So here I'm specifying on the basis of what I want to split. Here I'll specify how I want to join it. Okay. So let's say so this is the list I have. I'm specifying in between these two elements, put a space and join this entire thing as one string. Okay. So I'm specifying this dot join, and I want to specify which list I want to join. Okay. So now I will get a string, and in between it will defaultly add a space. If I say a comma, it will put a comma in between. Okay. So now all these elements are part of a separate element in a list. I'm joining it into a string. Okay.
Only for a list you can join.
No, you can join strings also. That is also fine. But it's only in case of a split. You will ultimately your output. So the main thing is so split. Your output will be always a list. In case of a join, your output will always be a string. Okay. Try this. So I have a string my Python sample string. Okay. If I say print s of colon -1, I'll get this string in a reverse way, right? What I want this string reversed on the basis of words. So I want output as string sample Python.
So join will work only in the case of lists only.
No, and strings also it will work. Yeah. The only thing is output will be string always. That's it.
And let's say that if we want to add some number in this one, which is not in a variable. So can you do that also?
So for that you can use this format method actually. So we just covered this. Okay. So this is a string method. So let's say you want to create a large string and in between you want to insert some numbers. Okay. So all you can do is just specify the placeholders here and dot format, and here you'll specify the variables. Okay. So what variables you want to put. Okay. So this join you can use as an alternative to your concatenation also. Okay. Right.
Any copy paste and share this activity.
Yeah.
Yeah, that will be good. Because I need some.
Okay, sure. What should I write?
It's button split.
On the basis of?
On basis of space.
So now I have this. Okay. I want to reverse this. How you reverse a string? Reverse a string. Guys?
Same way.
And so
Exactly. It's the same, right? So same thing will work in case of a list too. Okay. All right. Now I have this. Okay. Next step. Okay. Right. So for now, we can do it in a single statement, but it's just I'm writing it something like this. Now I have this reversed in this L2. Okay. All right. I want ultimately this string, so I want to join it. And let's start join. Okay. Now if we just print off S1. Okay. Okay. So clear, split and join. Any queries? Sure. So next set of functions, we have something called index, find, find, replace. Okay. Let's take the same string. Okay, I have something like this. If I say print s dot index of, let's say CSS, this is returning me 5. Yes. It is 5. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. So what this index will do, it will check if this particular string exists or not, and if exists, it will return the starting point of the first occurrence of that particular string. So let's say now if I have a duplicate, as I said, it will only give me the first occurrence. Okay. Again, this is character by character, so even if I try for C, I will get 5. Okay, and this is case sensitive. So if I say small c, now index will throw me an error that substring not found. Okay. Sure. Now we have something called find. Okay, so I'm saying find of CSS. So this is also returning me 5. What do you think? What is the difference between index and find?
It will just search.
True or false?
Mm-hmm. So this is returning me 5 only. This is also returning me 5. So there is no difference in output.
It's not checking this.
Mm-hmm. So this is also checking the first occurrence only. See? So the only difference is if I specify which does not exist, yes, so find will throw you -1. On the other hand, index will throw an substring not found. Okay, so that is the only difference we have in case of index and a find. Logically, this is how it is written in built.
Is this a case sensitive?
Yes. Yes. So here, if I try this C, this will give me -1 because it does not exist. Okay. If you want to replace something, S is equal to S dot replace. You have to specify what exactly you're looking for to be replaced. So I'm saying replace this HTML with HTML5. Okay, so now it will convert your HTML to HTML5. What if I specify something which does not exist? Okay, it will not make any changes, plus it will not throw you an error, it will just ignore the statement. Okay,
So all of this index, find, and replace, all are cases.
yeah, all these functions. Okay, again keep in mind whenever I'm saying s dot replace HTML with HTML5, I'm saying okay, I'm replacing into this s, but that doesn't mean I'm modifying at same memory location. My strings are immutable, so that's why if I check the memory location of this s and this s after replacing, it should be different. Okay, so here if I check ID of s, and along with this, if I print ID of s, this has to be different. Okay. All right. We have something called rfind. So your index and your find function will always try to search the string from left hand side. If you want to search it from the right hand side, I can use this rfind function. Okay. So it will return me now 16. Okay. Now 16, if you see, so 16 will be index of this CSS now. Okay. It will always return you the index on the basis of left to right. That is, it will always return you the positive index. Okay.
Then come this, find.
So if I use index or a find, it will search for this string from left to right hand side, and it will return the first occurrence. If I use rfind, it will start searching for the string from right hand side, and now it will give me the index of this 16. This is the 16.
Rfind is like a right hand.
Right hand, yeah. Okay. Again, as it's a variation of find function, so if you specify something which does not exist, it will give you -1. Okay. So this -1, if you are getting, so these are easier to handle. That if you just check with the condition, if you're getting -1, which means you're getting an empty string, right? But if you go with index, then you have to write your exception handling for this.
You want to check more than one occurrence?
More than one occurrence. So index will always return you the index of first element only. So we can specify as a separate parameter from exactly where you want to start searching, but ultimately it will always give you the first occurrence. Okay. If we just do hello str dot find, let's see, we have a max. I don't think so. So okay. So you can specify the start and you can specify the end. So you specify the second parameter index. It will take the start and this will, you can specify the end. But multiple occurrence, noops. Okay. So multiple occurrences we will be covering in your regular expression. Yes, using that way you can do it. Okay. All right. Next set of function is alpha, is alnum, is digit, is space. Okay. Answer will be, if I check this,
Space.
okay. So it will only check for characters. Okay, only check for alphabets, small a to z, capital E to z. Even space is not allowed. Your numbers, your digits, your special characters, not allowed. Okay. All right. Alphanumeric. Okay. So it will contains your alphabets plus your digits. Both are allowed now. Okay. Again, if I put a space, plus, okay, we have something as keys. Okay. So this will only compare with digits. Okay. If I put characters, okay. If you want to compare it with space, s dot is space. Okay. So now this function will check the string with space or space characters. If I say space, this is true. Now if I say a character space 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 a, this will again false because it contains character. Okay. So the condition for which it is true is slash t if I use. So slash t is my tab character. This will be true. If I use slash n, which is a new line character, this will be true. And for a single space, this will be true. Okay.
So it will be only for new line, tab, and space.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so last few functions. Let's say I have a string Python. Now I want to convert it to a fixed length string. Okay, so I can say s dot center. I want to make it a string of length 20, but if you see the length of this particular string is less than 20, right? So what about remaining characters? So you have to specify what exactly you want to put. Okay, so defaultly it will add space, but now I'm explicitly saying add some star so that it will be easier to check. And obviously I need to add print statement. Okay, so what the center will do, it will keep your string at the center. It will add some extra space on the extra characters on the left hand side and on the right hand side. Okay, and it will make the length of the string as 20. How to check length of the string? Okay, so we have a function called len. Now it works on any iterable data type. Which are iterable data types?
Lists. String.
So my strings, my lists, tuple, dictionary, set. Okay, so for all these data types, this function will work. If you try to calculate the length of an integer, it will throw you an error. Okay, all right. So here, if I put print len of s1. Okay. Initially it is 6. Now you use center method. Now this is 20. Okay. Similar to this, we have something called ljust. Just tell me what this is doing. And we have something called rjust. Okay. So what this ljust will do? So your center will keep your string in the center. Your ljust will keep your string left justified, so that is on left side. Rjust, it will keep your strings on the right hand side. Okay, all right. So last functions. So these are very important functions now, especially whenever you're working with your web applications, right? So whenever you will fetch some data from files or any website, everything will be in a format of a string. Okay, so that is the reason your string is very important file data type. Because be it your numbers, be it your actual strings, everything will be a string if you fetch it from a file, if you fetch it from a web page. Okay, so now if you're looking to perform some numeric computation, you have to actually convert each data type, right? So whenever you will be fetching some data, you will get a lot of extra spaces at start and at the end. Okay, and you have to remove that thing. I guess in automation testing also you'll be getting this a lot. Okay, so I have something like this. So I have a lot of extra stars and at the start or at the end. So I can use this function strip strip, and I need to specify what I want to remove. So I'm specifying remove all the stars. Okay. So what this will do, it will remove everything from left hand side and from right hand side. Okay. If I put in between, so let's say I have a string something like this. Okay. Right. So this makes sense, right? So whenever you're working, so you'll generally get the white spaces at the start and the end. Now, if white spaces are in between two words, you need those white spaces. You don't want to remove this, right? So that is the reason it will remove only from left and from right hand side. Okay. If you want, if you're getting the white spaces on the left hand side only, then you can use this L strip. So now, this is strip, L strip. Take this as this one. So strip will remove from both sides. L strip will only remove from the right hand side, from the left hand side, but it will show this on the right hand side. And the another variation is S1 dot strip.
Can you use multiple characters for removing with this?
With this, no. So it's not that you have to remember all these function names. You always have this help. The main intention was you should be aware that this much functions are available. So apart from the functions which we have covered, you may find some extra functions also. Okay, so don't just by heart this. So if you think there is a particular use case, you can search for this. Do we have any particular function already available? Okay, but from my experience, the most widely used functions will be a strip, your split and your join, your alien function, your find function, and what else? Your main is your format function. Alien format, strip, split and join. Split and join are the most important. Okay, so you should be good with concept of indexing and slicing. First thing, how to concatenate two strings, and these functions. Okay. All right. So that's all about strings. 5 minutes left. So we'll stop here for today. Okay. So for next time we will cover list. and tuple, both data structures. Okay. Any queries? The thing which you're talking about, your raw strings, right? So when you say something like this, print okay, so now this slash n has a special meaning that okay, this is a new line character. Okay, but let's say I want to specify a file path here. Okay, so it goes something like this, or let's say slash t is your tab character. So I'm saying my path is something like c colon, then my file name is test.abc. Let's test.txt, right? Now you can see that this is considering this slash t as a tab character. So now if I execute this, okay, so it will put a space, okay, and so I will not get this t. But if this is a file path and if I miss this t, I'll not get a file, right? So I want to tell the Python that switch off this special escape character mode, okay. So for that I will just put R here. Okay, now this slash t is slash t. It has no spatial meanings. Okay, so this generally we will be considering when we are writing regular expressions. Okay, and file operations.